Just because you think it doesn't make it true. I remember a time in my life when I struggled with inadequacy around strong men. I was raised by my dad, and by me raised, he was very militant. For example, I remember a time when I first started going to church, really going to church. And I remember there was a meeting that was happening and everybody was saying what they had to say, and I had something to say. So when I stood up to say it, it was completely dismissed. When that happened, it triggered me. It made me feel like what I had to say didn't matter. I felt unheard. I felt so many different things. And at the time, I didn't think about it. I didn't analyze it because to me, it was a normal feeling. Because anytime I dismiss what I would have to say or make me feel unheard, and I would want to lash out. So, I later found out that I was being triggered. And it wasn't the intention. I'm sure it wasn't the intention of the person or people that had made me feel like that. But because my mind is protecting myself from things that hurt me from my past. And when I realized that, it was easier to pinpoint my triggers by how I either felt or how I behaved. Once I analyzed what was going on with me and realized what my triggers was, I wanted to get to the bottom of why I felt like I needed to buck authority. Why did I feel like every time I would say something, I would always feel dismissed. I would always feel inadequate, So the more I learned and realized that it was based off of something I've been through in my past, I got to the bottom of it. I realized that I had a fear of failure. I had a fear of rejection. I also had a fear of not being enough. All based off of an inadequacy from childhood that played a major role in how I interacted with men. And until I really took accountability for what I was feeling and realizing how what I was feeling was based off of as if I was hearing my dad say these things to me, when in all actuality it's the people that are in front of me speaking, but I'm taking what they're saying because what they're saying hurt my feelings, and it made me feel like that I felt when my dad made me feel some type of way. Every time I felt dismissed or unheard, my immediate thought was I didn't matter. My immediate thought. And being thought for so long, and it was so natural for me to have that thought. At the time that I was having that thought, I didn't pause for a minute, and really assess what I was feeling, understand why. And it wasn't until I built my relationship with God where He showed me and taught me how to pinpoint those things that are holding me back from being the best version of myself. The limited belief that I had caused me to buck authority, and it kept me in depression. A really deep depression. And because of the depression, I became a mean person. And so God made me realize that He cannot fully leave the version of me that keeps agreeing with the fear. So until I stop agreeing with the fear, I'm still going to continue to have the fear. But when I stop agreeing with the fear, I'm able to be the best version of myself. That's the only way I can really put it. Because transformation starts by identifying the lie beneath the behavior. So me bucking authority, being in deep depression and being mean, all the overthinking and the thoughts that I used to think were always so negative, and I was just feeding them because that's all I knew. I didn't understand there was another way to have a different perspective. And then I didn't understand that my perception was flawed and limited. So there are times where I'm triggered by something that a man does that makes me feel some type of way. I now am able to step back and pause, assess it, and then deal with it right then and there. And so that my actions, my behavior does not reflect that trigger. That's the key. The transformation is breaking your mindset. I'm trying to make you aware that your mindset, what you think, is blocking you from being the best version of yourself and even walking into your purpose. And you may not even realize it. You may not even recognize that you're doing it because you've been doing it for so long, So my hope, when you understand that there are things that you believe based off of your mind protecting you from past hurt, and when you can become aware that those beliefs that you have are limited because they're not the full picture. They're only limited because they're based off of your viewpoint. They're not based off a bigger picture. But until you realize that, the cycles that you go in is because of that. Because you're not recognizing the limited beliefs that you carry.